Mr. Manuel, good morning to you. Of course, it is very good news that we're moving forward. There's an agreement for 500,000 J&J vaccines for teachers from this week. Here's the problem. The J&J vaccine hasn't been approved by the FDA. Was that maybe a promise a couple of days too early?
Good morning, Gareth. No, I don't think it was a promise too early. From the outset, when we as teacher unions were briefed by the Director General's office, it was always contingent on the FDA approving the release. And well, we were promised that it could have been over the weekend, and now I've just heard from various sources saying that maybe within the week. The problem is we have a small window period of 3 weeks in which the vaccine must be used. So we are hoping and praying that this will still happen in time so that the vaccine, the 500,000 doses promised to the education sector, can still be used. Of course, we are not directly in control of it, so we too are hoping and praying for something to happen.
What do we know about the expiration dates of the vaccines as well? I know it's getting all very confusing, isn't it, Mr. Manuel, with Pfizer, AstraZeneca, J&J, which ones will expire if not kept in a very cold chain supply as well. With the rush that you're talking about teachers getting back into the classrooms when J&J will get released, 500,000 teachers to be vaccinated, all happening at the same time, the expiration date and the expiry of these vaccines, I'm sure, would be a concern as well.
Well, that is why I made reference to the window period that we have. This J&J vaccine has a window period of 3 weeks in which it must be used. 3 weeks from that was from the weekend. So the longer the delay, the bigger the problem becomes, and the greater the logistics become in terms of rolling it out. And it would be a great pity if this goes to waste, because, look, it's not just teachers, but the entire sector is dependent on this. And it does give a certain amount of calm and reassurance to the sector, not only to teachers, but to parents as well, when learners return. And we know that primary school learners are to return at the end of July, full-time. And all those things add up together. And so we sincerely hope that this comes to fruition.
I'm going to ask you, we'll talk about the return of school pupils and teachers back to a normal timetable in a couple of minutes, Basil. But if we could talk about the teachers now and the situation regarding vaccinations. There's a couple of issues here, which I'm sure you're dealing with as a union. One, what happens if even after J&J is rolled out, it doesn't get to teachers in some parts of the country fast enough to allow them to go back to school with all of their peers and colleagues? Two, what are you going to do if some teachers refuse to take the vaccination?
Gareth, first of all, teachers are back at school already. So there's no debate about going back to school. They've been back at school since February. And however, it is about ensuring greater safety. It's never been a prerequisite, not from Naptosa, certainly not the other unions that we interact with that have said that we must have the vaccine before we return to school. So that is the first point. It is a good to have, and it is something that we've pushed for, and we are still there. Insofar as people refusing, we know that people have a right to accept or not to accept it. However, I would imagine that there are some red flags that are waving. Remember, we have a number of teachers that have comorbidities. Now, we also have people that are on leave because of comorbidities. Now, surely if you can get the vaccine, can you still want to be off on comorbidity concession? There's a little doubt there. Now, that hasn't been a debate yet, but it surely will be, because if something is put there to assist and ensure that the entire cohort of teachers and workers get back to school, I can't imagine that you could refuse that and still then want another concession to stand in place.
Now, I can imagine a number of questions and a number of scenarios playing out once the J&J vaccine rolls out for 500,000 doses for teachers. Basil Manuel, thank you very much indeed for your time from Naptosa. It's some good news waiting now for the FDA to give the go-ahead for the J&J vaccine to be rolled out. It's there, it's waiting, just waiting for the stamp of approval, and 500,000 teachers have been earmarked to get that vaccine.